like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at the City of Clearlake Chambers on Tuesday, January 23rd. City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at the City of Clearlake Chambers on Tuesday, January 23rd. City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call the City of Clearlake Planning Commission meeting to order. Thank you for all viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd Sorry. Start again. Thank you all for viewing tonight's special Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at the City of Clearlake Chambers on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 at 5:04 p.m. We are currently live streaming this meeting on the city's YouTube channel and the Lake County PEG TV live stream YouTube channel. To begin with, can I please have a roll call?
Commissioner Inglis,
Here.
Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Coker,
Here.
Vice Chair Smalley,
Here.
Chair Williams.
Here. Okay, to those present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I would like to ask the city manager or the senior planner if there are any changes to the agenda.
There are no changes.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we'll go on to public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the planning commission or any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the commission or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Are there any public comments in the chamber at this time? Okay, seeing none, are there any on Zoom or via phone?
There are no questions or comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Okay, we will go on to our public hearing. Item number 1, public hearing for the consideration of conditional use permit, CUP 2024-02, and corresponding environmental analysis, CEQA IS 2024-01, located at 14975 Olympic Drive, APN 039-55051, 3545 Old Highway 53, APN 039-55050, and 3565 Old Highway 53, APN 039-55020 in Clearlake. If staff can please proceed with the staff report.
Commission and good evening, members of the public. So we're here today to hear a conditional use permit 2024-02 and corresponding environmental analysis IS 2020-01. So this is just more of a location reference map. So the project is located on the corner of Olympic and Old 53, and it consists of 3 parcels that are highlighted in orange. It's approximately 2 acres plus or minus in size and is zoned general commercial. So a little bit about the project summary. So the project consists of a gas station, which is a convenience store with a food service area that totals in about 5,106 square feet. Approximately the food service area is just above 2,000 square feet. It will also include 6 double-sided fuel pumps under a canopy and up to 3 fuel tanks underground. For the drive-through car wash, the drive-through car wash facility itself is about 3,600 square feet with approximately up to 2 underground water tanks. So access and parking. So there will be access off of Olympic and Old Highway 53. There will be about 75 parking spaces. Of those 75, it will consist of 12 vacuum pump stations and approximately 8 electrical vehicle charging stations. So a little bit about public notice summary. So the project was circulated for review in May of 2024 to various agencies for comments. And then of those comments received were from Lake County Environmental Health, Highlands Water Company, Holy Nation of Northern California, and Elim Colony. And both the tribal organizations requested tribal consultation, which we held in accordance with the state statutes. Then also as part of the project, staff prepared a CEQA analysis and incorporated various mitigation measures to reduce any potential impacts to less than significant. That initial study was circulated from December 23rd to 24 through January 22nd, 2025. It was also sent via email to various federal, state, and local agencies, and also a notice of intent, which informs the public our intent to adopt a mitigated neg deck, was sent to parcels within 300 feet. For tonight, our public hearing was published in January 11th, 2025 with the record B, and also sent out to all parcels within 300 feet. So here's one of the site plans. You can see my cursor. There will be an access point approximately here off of Olympic, and then Old 53 approximately here. You can see this will be the convenience store with the indoor eatery restaurant, and then you can see here will be the gas canopy with the 6 double-sided pumps. And speaking with the applicant, they anticipate up to eight EV charging stations will be located in front of the convenience store. You can see there's additional parking along here of Old Highway 53. And then the shared parking here is that center lot, which will consist of like the vacuum pumps and additional options associated with the car wash, which is located in the southern portion. And part of the car wash, and speaking with the applicant, all the material and runoff will be collected from the car wash and also on site, recycled, filtered, and reused on site for landscaping purposes. So none of it will be connected to special districts or anything like that. The areas kind of highlighted in that gold color are the areas anticipated to be landscaped. You can see there's a small portion up in the corner along Olympic, and then the southern portion along the car wash, and then the portion along Old Highway 53. So this is a rendering of what it could possibly look like once complete. These are the color schemes on the elevations, but doesn't necessarily mean these will be the proposed colorings. And this will be the car wash with the vacuum pumps located in front of it. And that concludes my presentation. But if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to ask, or if you'd like me to put up the site plan again, I'm more than happy to.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will now ask each commissioner if they have any questions of staff. Commissioner Inglis?
I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart?
Oh, yeah. Mark, would you go back to the diagram, please, of the site placement of the buildings and such?
Yes, sir.
So my first concern is that in reading all the documentation that was provided on this, I didn't see anywhere in there where a traffic consultant had been talked to about this. And I have some concerns with the entries and exits onto Old 53 and Olympic. This is one of the busiest intersections in town right here. And to me, it would have made more sense if they would have put the building where those 12 spots are over there on Old 53, if they would have had the building over there and kept the entrance to the project where it is currently on the old Four Corners site, to me, that would have made more sense, because when people entered and exited back there, at least they were a little ways from the corner, and it might give somebody a chance to get over to the turn lane, or for a few cars to stack up. And this way, I can see people are going to be wanting to exit onto Olympic and make a right turn to head for the highway, and traffic's going to be a backup there because of the stoplight. And then the same situation over at the other side. So I have concerns about that. And then beyond that, I was a little bit surprised just now when Mark mentioned that the developers planning on putting all the EV charging stations right in front of the store. I'm not a developer, but I know that EVs take a little while to charge, and under the best of circumstances, usually I think a half hour or more. And, to me, it would have made more sense to put the EV charging station on the opposite side of the, over there by Old 53. I mean, saying that the site placement stayed exactly as it is now. It would have made a lot more sense to put the charging stations over on Old 53 so that when customers want to go into the store or the eatery, they've got those parking places available there without a bunch of EVs hanging out there charging up, you know? Other than that, I really like this project and I'm excited that someone's proposing to put a car wash, and as near as I could tell from the stuff provided, it looks like it might actually be a car wash with brushes rather than just a high pressure water situation like we currently have. And I'm hoping that's the case because I hate washing my truck and I'd like to have a real car wash to take it through. So I'm really hoping that does pan out. And I have absolutely nothing against this project as far as the overall scope and purpose of it. I think that this side of town is pretty underserved as far as, you know, having any other option to fuel up. There's no, well, in fact, I mean, it is odd, many, many moons ago, for those of you who weren't here, which is almost all of you, in the 50s, there was a gas station on this corner. It was on the other side where Rite Aid is now, and there was a little garage there. And Brian Wardall's dad actually started the business there in a Quonset hut many years ago. And so anyway, there was a long time history of having fuel and service on that side of town, but it's been gone for a long, long time. And I think that, you know, this side of town that this is on there's going to be more growth here in the future. And I think this is a well-needed project and I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Poker?
Terry asked the same question I was gonna ask.
Thank you. Vice Chair Smalley?
So as far as entering and exiting onto Olympic, it looks like that driveway is over 150 feet from the corner. So that, yeah, this is the corner. It's almost 150 feet there.
Oh, I'm talking about this driveway.
Oh, that's on Olympic.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
Well,
but
mean,
I do,
I was talking about that one too. So you're right. This one's not near as bad because there is 150 feet
Right.
there.
but I do agree with you on having the charging stations right in front of the store.
That would make no sense.
So my only other question is, you know, are you gonna ask for a SWEP or some kind of stormwater control plan and, you know, and all that? Okay, because, you know, it's not too far from the lake and that would just go straight to the lake.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that would be a requirement of the project. I do think that we should probably dig into the site plan a little bit more, but maybe recommend, you know, seeing if there's comments from the public, and then we can dig into those issues that were raised by the commissioners.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. So my comments also with the traffic and with the EV stations up front, where does that leave the handicap parking with the access into the building? I see that that could be a big issue there. I know on Olympic, on that corner, there is a left turn lane onto Burns Valley. And then as you're coming towards City Hall, it goes into a turn lane that you can turn into Safeway or left across. It would be nice if there was some kind of a barrier so that people can't turn left into the gas station across that left-hand turn lane onto Burns Valley. And the same goes with Old 53. There's a left-hand turn lane to turn onto Olympic, but there's no turn lane there into Rite Aid. So it would be really nice if their developer, if their engineer could work with our city engineer to make sure that we're not going to run into any issues there, even if it's moving that both driveways back to create the least amount of issues there. Let's see here. Do we know, I guess, I noticed that Highlands Water hadn't responded to anything. I'm assuming that with all the other businesses there that we would have plenty of water pressure in that area for a car wash. So those are my comments at this time. One more thing, I know that these are just the drawings, but the colors on the car wash really clash with the main building, and I would like to see the whole thing cohesive so that it looks nice. Anything's gonna look better than what we have on that corner right now, but once we get into that, it would be really nice if that was all cohesive. So I know that's nitpicky, but anyway. Okay, at this time, I will open this up for public comment. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to speak to this item? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom?
There are no questions or comments on Zoom.
Questions or comments on Zoom? Okay. Do we have a representative from the developer on Zoom?
No, we do not. They're unfortunately not able to make it at the last minute.
Well, seeing as there are no comments on Zoom and we have no other participants, I thank you, and public comment on this item is now closed.
Madam Chair, maybe before you do that, if you want to have, ask any questions of Highlands Water, we do have a representative here. Sarah might be able to address that
Okay.
question.
Sarah, if you'll go ahead and come forward, that would be great. Okay, public comment is reopened so that we can get an answer to that question. Sarah? Thank you.
Sarah Miller from Highlands Water Company. And I thought we did comment through email. Was there something else that we were supposed to, because you did answer our questions
They answered
as far as most of the questions.
most of the
was
questions. I think the only one we weren't able to get a solid answer on is the anticipated amount of
Amount of water.
water usage.
And that's really our main concern is knowing that, so.
And speaking with the applicant this week or their representative, they're coordinating with their engineers to fine tune everything, all the components internally with the car wash to help give them like, I guess, an
Some
exact
sort of an estimate.
estimate of
that.
water usage.
Yeah, so.
At this time, there is enough infrastructure there that should support that.
There should be, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay, so maybe so you're closing public comment now. I just thought that would be good to.
Thank you. Yes. So I will, at this time, public comment is closed. I will now ask each commissioner if they have any further comments for deliberation on this item. Commissioner Smalley, or Vice Chair Smalley, sorry.
I don't have any other comments.
Commissioner Stewart?
I have no further comments. I would like staff to converse with the developer about the issues that I presented. And I will tell you that prior to the meeting, I was approached by members of public. And their real only concern about this was potential traffic situations. And I think, part of that has been triggered by, and I'm sorry to say, I can't remember the name of the gas station, but the newest one across from Speedway and O'Reilly's there. So that entrance and exit to that thing, which once again, that's probably between that intersection and this one that we're talking about here. This is probably pretty much up there, the two busiest in town. And, I think now that gas station by O'Reilly's there's been open for a while, stuff is flowing a little smoother. But initially, that was not a fun situation getting through there at certain times. So anyway, I don't want to discourage this applicant at all. And the infrastructure is what it is. But I would just like to make sure that the site placement is optimized from a traffic flow standpoint, that we're gonna have the least problems further going down the road. And as long as staff can address those issues with the developer and take whatever reasonable steps they might be able to do. Because right now, nobody's broke any ground. There's no plans finalized. So I mean, stuff could be moved and revamped and done now at not a large cost compared to once something gets built or infrastructure's installed. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Inglis?
Well, this is only empirical and not really statistically valid. I did sit on that corner because that was the left turn onto 53 going back up, north, I guess it is. Worried me. It didn't seem that worrisome. What was worrisome is that when it's not relative to this, but it kind of is that one into Safeway. When people turn right, they're trying to turn left into Safeway. People are trying to turn left to go up Olympic out to new 53 or 53. Was problematic. I didn't see anything on that, but that is a busy corner. They might rethink some of that formulation. That's the only comment I have, but I support this. This makes, for somebody who wasn't here in the 50s, it makes all sorts of sense having some services over there. And yeah, now that you mentioned it, the electric cars parked in front of this, maybe they don't want people hanging out in front of the 7-Eleven, who knows, or the convenience store, sorry. But I support this and it looked good.
Commissioner Coker?
I don't have any questions.
And I have no additional comments other than I agree with, Commissioner Stewart that it would be nice if they can address our concerns on the traffic flow there. Because this is such a busy intersection and we have such short turn lanes there that anything that they can do to mitigate that, I think is very important. So, all right, at this
Chair,
time.
okay.
Go ahead.
Can I share a little bit, Chair Williams? So, well, I think, staff agree with your concerns. I mean, this wasn't really detailed in the staff report, but this is very similar to the first site plan that the developer submitted to us. And we replied with a number of recommendations to them to make some improvements to the site plan related to the very issues that you're bringing up. I mean, I think one thing that's obvious is the sort of driveway encroachment on the Olympic side is way too large and too close to the intersection, and it is going to cause problems. And so they really didn't respond too much to the concerns and recommendations that staff submitted. And so I think, if the commission it sounds like looking forward to approving this project, I think if you're willing to trust staff with this, with a strong direction from the commission for us to go back with the developer and address these issues in a way that's satisfactory with the public works director and the city engineer, we would certainly be supportive of that. I mean, I think, I don't know that we commented on the EV charging station locations. I think your comments have a lot of validity, and maybe they can have a couple of them there in front and move some of them. I mean, they're probably trying to reduce their costs, and it's easier and cheaper for them to have them right there where the infrastructure is. But, people don't like, most of us are somewhat lazy and don't want to park any further away from the door than we have to. So I think we can carry that direction. I agree with you about the design review, the color consistency. If you want to give us direction on that, we'll certainly work with them on those issues. So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, I don't know exactly what the solutions would be. I mean, I did, Chair Williams, and I did talk today, and I mean, maybe on Olympic, there is a need to do a similar curb that we did on Lakeshore Drive in front of the gas and food stop. I mean, people around town were not too happy with that when it was installed, but it's effective. It is effective. So I guess the only other thing, if you have any questions, I mean, you did get correspondence from the Koi Nation. You got a letter I sent you a memo, which is part of the record this afternoon. Happy to go over any points on that if you haven't had a chance to review it. I guess just let me know whether you want me to, address any of those issues or not. I mean, I think the most important thing to remember is there was, an archaeological expert, that did a survey with the Koi Nation. No resources or potentially eligible resources were identified as part of that. In spite of that, we have recommended a number of mitigation measures be included, as part of this permit process, just to protect against any inadvertent discoveries. So, but we would not recommend any additional changes to the proposed mitigation measures related to tribal cultural resources at this time.
Thank you. Yeah, in studying the Native Sovereign Nation consultation guidelines that the city council, voted into effect November of 24, many of the issues that were in that letter that was received yesterday are covered in this. And it specifically states that, it was 2 years of consulting with, Elam, Middletown, and the Koi. And Elam and Middletown approved the draft guidelines, and Koi stated that, their comments were addressed in the final guidelines and that they're feasible. And I know one of their concerns was, the rotating shifts, but that is clearly spelled out in these guidelines as well. So, and I came in this morning and read the archaeological report, and yeah, it very clearly states that there were no resources cultural identified. And it's very clear that the Koi were involved in that because it states in there that they specifically requested monitoring. So if they have these issues, why didn't they bring them up then? It's just some of my, some things that came to my mind as I was reading through all of this. So anyway.
Well, unfortunately, delays around this very issue is what has caused this project. I mean, this project really should have been before the commission a year ago, and we've been trying to work through all this stuff. And yeah.
Okay, if there are no further comments, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move that we approve this matter with the stipulations we talked about earlier, that staff address these issues in a more firm way with the developer and report back to us on any changes that might be implemented concerning entrances and exits to the project, traffic flow, and electric vehicle charging station placement, and as well as color palette for the finished project.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll give you a second.
We have a motion by Chair, or goodness gracious, it's late for me. Oh, gosh. Okay, I know. We have a motion by Commissioner Stewart and a second by Commissioner Coker. May I please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Inglis,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Coker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Smalley,
Aye.
Chair Williams.
Aye. Okay. Motion passes with a unanimous vote of the commission. All right, at this time, we will go to our city manager report and commissioner reports. City Manager Flora, do we have a report?
I don't think I have too many things to report. A couple things I'll mention. So, we are in the midst of preparing the draft EIR for the airport project. So, and finalizing some of the technical studies. You know, the schedule's largely on track on that. We're expecting, I can't remember the date we're expecting to bring this back before the commission, but we're still on track to have it certified by the city council, I think in May or June. So that's going pretty well overall. And the one other, well, we're expecting construction to start on the 29-acre 22 lot subdivision up in Burns Valley this year. That ownership group also bought about 20 lots over on 36th Avenue that they'll be developing homes on. So that will be good. The third of the affordable housing projects that we've been working on, over by the hospital on state-owned land. I think they, finally got all the funding in place to move that project forward. The state, ultimately ended up giving us, the city, an additional $21 million, to give to that applicant to get that project moving. And so it's, I think, highly likely that that will be breaking ground this year as well. The only other thing we wanted to alert you to is, this is something that the council directed a number of years ago. It's been very kind of difficult logistically to figure out how to make this happen, but I think, here in the next month or two, we'll have it before the city council to, so we already have in the municipal code a rental registration and inspection ordinance. It hasn't been implemented since 2008. But the council really wants that to be back in place. And so we've been working through the details of some amendments. We have some new technology in place to implement that. And we're expecting that to come online the early part of this year. So that will require inspection of any rental property, hotel room, Airbnb in the city. Unless you have any questions, I think that's my report.
Thank you.
Which I think, some of those inspections are required by the Office of the State Fire Marshal, right? Apartments and things like that?
Well, not by the city. I mean, I think the fire district does. I mean, historically, they really didn't do very many of those inspections. I think since Fire Marshal Lancaster's been in place, she's been trying to do a lot more of them. I don't really know for sure, how comprehensive that coverage has been to date, but yeah, we will be doing all of that. And there's going to be a lot of stuff coming down related to fire insurance and local responsibility area. You're familiar with that, Commissioner Smalley, but that is something that was brought up in some recent meetings that, depending on how that plays out, we may actually try to roll in like some defensible space inspections into some of this as well. So I don't know whether those will be required or, some insurance companies are recognizing some certification programs out there so that, if you pay a third party inspector, it's something that maybe the fire district will end up doing, but you can pay to have an inspection done and get a certificate that says you passed these standards for home hardening or whatever it may be, and then passing that along to your insurance company, and perhaps they will recognize it. But there's going to be a lot of movement and effort around this area this year for sure. So.
Well, the new LRA maps are coming out soon, so, you're gonna find that parts or even most of the city's gonna be under the same guidelines as the SRA.
Yeah.
So,
We're
you guys-
anxiously awaiting those. I mean, most of the avenues
Yeah.
are in the recommended area. Now, we were never forced to adopt anything around that previously. That is a state requirement now. The maps were supposed to be out last week. They were supposed to be out Wednesday. They still haven't been released yet, so
Right.
I don't know for sure when we'll see them, but soon, I'm sure.
So you have Mary Jane get a wildland urban interface.
Yeah, so we're gonna be having public hearings about all of this. It's something that, it isn't really that sexy, so people probably aren't gonna pay attention, but there's gonna be a big impact on a lot of us, so we need to do everything we can to get the word out.
Commissioner Stewart, you had some comments?
Alan, I'm curious. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I actually, as most of you know, I've owned rental property in the city here for many, many moons. And I was actually involved in the earlier, rental registration and inspection program. I had the city inspector out at my rentals and he inspected all of them. And I had a couple of little things that he wanted done, but it was nothing major. But of course, I try to have decent rentals that my criteria has always been that I could live in the house myself without a problem, you know? But the other thing, so in other words, what I'm trying to say there is I think that's a good thing. There's some really substandard rentals in the area. And unfortunately, for a lot of our populace, they're being forced to pay exorbitant rents now for places that really are not safe. Stuff doesn't work. They're not up to the standards that the state has, you know, with heating and just all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I'm totally on board with having the rental inspection program. I can tell you that. But the other thing I wanted to ask Ellen, how is the city looking as far as the state mandated number of housing units that need to be? There's some kind of housing plan or 10-year to 8-year deal, whatever it is, and they give you a number. We want to see this many more residences built within X amount of years. How is the city doing on that?
Well, it depends on what part you look at. So the state gives us a regional housing needs allocation. Every jurisdiction in California, they say over this period of time, our housing element cycle, I think, is 7-year period. You need to create or rehab, you know, X number in each income category. So we've basically met all of our affordable categories. The project over by the hospital that I mentioned earlier, once that's built, we will significantly exceed the allocation that the state's given us for affordable categories. For moderate income categories, we're nowhere near creating the amount that's needed. That's the most difficult thing for anyone in California really to develop at this point, unfortunately. So, you know, we do have a couple of projects that I mentioned that are going to be addressing that. There are some projects around town where, you know, small contractors and developers are doing a few new builds here and there. So we're making a little progress. But, you know, the city's not really interested in focusing in creating additional new affordable units. At this point, I mean, there's certainly a need for quality units out there. And you know, we're going to go through this inspection process and realize how dire the conditions are, and then we're going to have to start figuring out what we can do, because, you know, we appreciate landlords that take the approach you do, but certainly not all of them in town are taking that approach. But we really need to buckle down and figure out what other creative ways we can do to get, you know, middle income and even upper income housing built in the city. And so one thing that is, you know, off the ground a little bit, we had our first meeting last week, but the two cities in the county came together and created a regional housing trust fund. And so we all put some money into this, and then that opens us up. There's a special designation that we'll be able to apply for a special state pot of funding. And we'll be deciding what to focus on. But, you know, everyone else, the other two jurisdictions here have really the same issues. And I mean, one thing that we're facing as well is the affordable units that were developed really in the 90s. There was a lot of them here. They're getting to an age where they really need investment in rehab, and the state pots of funding are focused on building new units. But if we start losing any of those units because they're really uninhabitable, you know, that's going to make our problem worse. So we're, I think, going to put a lot of focus into figuring out how to rehab existing units that are substandard.
Thank you. The units out on, the developer bought, that's gonna be the 20 or 22 units out there. Are those gonna be what would fall into market rate housing, or are they gonna be moderate income?
No, they're going to be higher end. I think, though.
I would have thought so.
I think, I mean, we haven't discussed numbers with them for a little while, but they're going to have to be in, you know, 600,000-700,000 and up, I would think.
So I guess the thing that I hear from people around town most that would like to own property, move up the rental chain, whatever. Um, there seems to be a pretty substantial shortage of, single-family dwellings for moderate income. In other words, I'm thinking, lower-level firefighters, teachers, people with a real job that actually pays money, but it's not $150,000 a year job or something. It's maybe a $60,000 or $80,000 a year job. And, so I don't know what it would take to get those projects done, because I don't even know really with the price of everything anymore if it's possible to build anything that's going to be affordable for those folks. So anyway, I know we're not here to address that.
Well, I mean, I
And-
could
but-
share a little bit on that. I mean, yeah, it's difficult, and it's even more difficult here than most places, including other areas of Lake County, because the construction costs are what they are. You know, it's no different to build a house here in Clear Lake really than, as far as the cost of constructing. I mean, you know, our sewer connection fees, as an example, are twice as expensive as they are in Kelseyville. So there are some variables there, but the cost of construction is really the same. But, if you look at average housing value, say in Lakeport at about 354,000, and you compare that to what it is currently in Clear Lake at about 220,000. And if it costs $300 a square foot, even, a 1,000 square foot house, you're looking at, a minimum of 300 grand plus all your permit fees and all that stuff. So it's very difficult to get a developer to be interested in building housing in Clear Lake when they look at the market, like, are we going to be able to move these units? And so we really have to be able to incentivize and try to get some of these projects going that show that, because I mean, we're telling people, yeah, I mean, the problem is the teachers, the engineers, the firefighters don't live here because there isn't the housing stock that they want and can afford. But if we build it, we think the community is rising and there will be a demand. But, I mean, the 36th Avenue houses are going to be in that market, probably 350 in that range. So that's going to fit the bill there, but it's been very difficult for them to kind of figure out how to make this work. And the city's going to end up stepping in and incentivizing some of that. I mean, the Danco group, which did the project by the senior center, I mean, that's what they do. They don't usually do single family stuff, but they like us, and we sold them that land cheap, and we're working with them on 36th Avenue, and we basically begged them, like, can you please help us? And so they said, okay, fine, we will, and we'll build 2 to 4 of them, see how it goes. If they go fast, we'll build the rest of them. And if it doesn't go so fast, we'll build a couple more and keep pushing it. But, it's only because of a positive relationship between us that they've really even considered that. So hopefully we get some examples there and other folks will be willing to do similar things. But
Well, all it takes is one little rock to start rolling down a hill and turn it into a snowball, And I will mention, it's an isolated case, but I just recently sold my rental property on 34th, so only a couple blocks away from where you're talking about. And it was a stick-built house built in 07, 1,500 square foot. I cherried it out real nice and I listed it at like 270 something. Well, anyway, it zoomed right up to 289. I sold it for within 14 days of putting it on the market. Of course, I had it cherried out real nice too. But anyway, I think there's a market for the housing that we're talking about here. And, the thing of it is, it's not a huge market, but that market is there. But if we can get a builder like Danco to build a few of these and see how it goes, and once you get a neighborhood like that going, I mean, it was sort of starting to do that back in 07 and 08 before everything came unglued and the wheels fell off. There was a lot of new housing built up in the avenues during that time frame. And so anyway, I'm hopeful. But when it's time for announcements also, I have a small announcement.
well, just one final thing. I mean, we say a lot around here that, I mean, there's there's few, if any, places that have as many challenges in doing projects as Clear Lake, but we're not giving up, so.
Yeah, right. All right. Do any commissioners have an item to report?
This time, I'd like to announce to the Planning Commission and the public that I am not going to be seeking reappointment to the Planning Commission when my term's up in March. So whatever meetings we have during February will be my last meetings here. And it's been a pleasure serving with all of you folks, and it's just really, I have a lot of challenges in my personal life that I'm having to deal with right now. And it's, this is just kind of a distraction to what I need to be concentrating on. But it has been a pleasure working with all you folks, and I kind of wanted to get the word out so that the city could perhaps start interviewing some new applicants to fill my chair once I'm gone. But it's been great working with you all. Thank you.
You too, Terry. Well, I have said that I would reapply, so if I am reseated to the commission, I'm going to miss working with you. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for everything that you've done the last 4 years. We appreciate it. Yes. So any other commissioners have a commissioner report at this time? No? Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could just tag onto that a little bit, just to say publicly, you've been a really good commissioner, Commissioner Stewart. I'm really disappointed that you're not interested in continuing, but certainly understand. So thank you for your service.
For the city. And I certainly hope that you plan to be here for many more years because the city has prospered under your guidance, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm thanking you.
Thank you. Well, I'm really stubborn, and as long as my key works on the front door, I'll be here. So
Good. Thank you, Alan.
Gosh, I just have a quick report. Two things. I would like to thank Alan and the city. I think everyone knows how passionate I am about spaying and neutering of the animals in Lake County, and have been a part of the SPCA for the last 10 years. And I approached Alan about a month or so ago because we are doing Pet Fix Lake County. Our first 200 animals in one weekend is happening in a week and a half. And we needed a new autoclave, which is what we sterilize our surgical equipment with. And the city kindly donated $4,000 for us to purchase a new autoclave. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. That is a huge piece of equipment that we really needed out there. So I just wanted to say thank you. And this last Saturday, I had heard Mayor Kramer mention that he was going to be helping clean up a homeless site behind the senior center. And that's my neighborhood. So I thought, I'm going to help. And my husband and I went, and let me tell you, if you haven't done it before and you know Citizens Caring for Clear Lake is going out, it's an experience. It's something I've never experienced before. And it's something that I would like to be a part of cleaning up in the future. Because it's actually very heartbreaking to see how these individuals are living. But anyway, we did get that cleaned up, and hopefully it'll stay clean for a while now. So, all right. Do any commissioners have any future agenda items? Okay, seeing none. All right. Thank you, everyone who took the time to attend this evening's meeting and for submitting your comments, and to those who are watching on Zoom and YouTube. There being no further business of the Planning Commission, we are now adjourning at 5:54 on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025.